Hello, this is Tarn Adams from Bay 12 Games. I'm here to give an update on Dwarf Fortress development. So, our focus has been on sieges of your fortress. We had a release in late June that brought us some changes to ranged weapons to get us prepared for that. We changed archer behavior so that they'd better use the fortifications that you set up to protect themselves, and so that they will also run off and get ammo, keeping their distance from enemies, even when they're out of bolts, instead of leaping over walls and clubbing people with their crossbows. So that's an improvement, and also to help facilitate that, we brought back the old ammo customization menus. This is especially useful for training bolts as well, so that you can now set your squads to use wooden bolts or bone bolts, etc., for training, and you can keep your precious steel bolts and other metal bolts for combat purposes. You can also customize hunter ammunition, and we've put in the supply menu so that you can set your squads to carry food or drink or not, in order to determine how often they'll have to go refill, or if they can stay out on a longer patrol. And down in the guts of the archery code, we added knocking of arrows and the loading of bolts into crossbows, so that archers have more control over when they're delayed. In the old system, it just had a big delay after you shoot, and now you can just prepare, walk around prepared. It's especially useful in adventure mode to survive a little longer if you're being an archer. And in the fortress mode, it just has an effect on how fast people shoot. And also statistics come into play. For the items, the characters, when they're using a bow, it requires a certain amount of strength to get the full force of it, but it can be loaded faster. You can knock an arrow, pull it back. It's more difficult to aim, though, so skill comes into play there. With the crossbow, it's easier to aim. It's easier to load in terms of skill, but it's slow to load. So you can really hand anybody a crossbow and they'll be a little bit competent with it. Skill is still very important, and skill, even for the crossbow, increases loading speed as well. And finally, with ranged weapons, there's aiming. So people can aim at the head, they can aim at the little finger, they can try and take their shots there. You can do that as an adventurer, and also your dwarves and enemies will be using it as well. So you'll see your skilled dwarves doing more headshots, things like that. Range matters, so longer range shots are harder to strike. And keep in mind that things like weather have always mattered for ranged of weapons. When I was testing, I was reminded of this because my test was taking place in a snowstorm, and I was wondering why they were shooting so late, but it's because they couldn't see as far. So lots of little things matter, and we've got that to prepare us for the next steps of the Siege release. Also, in the end of June release, we added the colorful Forgotten Beasts. This was a big update for the silhouettes that we used to have for them. So the Forgotten Beasts are big, procedurally generated creatures, and they had sort of evocative silhouettes, but very dark. And you'd be able to generally tell like what sort of species they were going for, and see some horns and things. But now Jacob has added a lot of decorations, and they have full color now, so they match their descriptive paragraphs, right? So if it says that they're purple, they'll be purple now, and that's nice. And they're really cool. We have the smaller procedural creatures are still silhouettes. That's something, of course, that we'll get in line in the future, so that all of our creatures are kind of displayed in their full glory. Now that was in late June. In the future now, we have a big thing coming up is the release of the Lua scripting. So that's over on the beta branch as I'm recording this. It was on the experimental branch. We upgraded it recently to a beta release so more people could take a look at it. And it works nicely. So that is a big change to the game where the modding objects and even the vanilla objects, which are down in TXT files, that is now controlled. The generation of the random creatures and random objects and things, it went into that same format, but it was always hidden in the code. Now that code has been brought out and a lot more things beside, and this is just going to be an ongoing process, getting more and more things into scripting languages. So this will kind of blossom into a modding renaissance that we've got, and Putnam's done great work there, getting the scripts ready, and that's coming soon to a main release. And I'm working on Siege stuff. We've got Siege AI written up. We've got them digging a little bit. We've been working on the changes to walling code. These things are going to come later. We'll probably have some more releases before you see this stuff, but I've kind of got to split my time between routine releases and the kind of core Siege releases. But we'll see some more Siege stuff as well in the next release, along with dyes. I've got that code up and running, mixing dyes, having more colors, and that's a lot of fun. Adding new bright shiny things is kind of part of Dwarf Fortress now, which is cool. We have lots of new artwork coming. Really, we've got broken items for sieges drawn up. The reinforced walls I mentioned. The siege weapons have improved artwork, and there's some new stuff there. So yeah, it's exciting. We're getting more and more little updates up, and we're just going to keep plugging away at it until all of our siege items are completed. So hope you're enjoying the new ranged update and the new beasts, and we'll just keep working. Thanks for listening.